Okay, so the third lesson is shutter speed. Shutter speed is another way to control the light that gets in through your lens into the camera and therefore into your pictures. Shutter speed is the control of the shutter is a door within your camera that when you press the shutter release button, it opens the door and then it automatically shuts again. But you get to control how long that door is open for. When the door is open, light can get through. When it's shut, no light can get through. So, shutter speed is measured as a fraction of a second. You could have the shutter open for an entire second, 1. Or you could have it open for 4 seconds. You could have it open infinitely until you tell it to shut again. It's how people get those beautiful time motion pictures where you see lights of a car flooding along the road. You see that the lights are blurred, but the bridge or the trees or whatever around them are still. It's because people have their cameras on a tripod. So they keep everything still, everything that stays static in that picture. But then you can see the lights, the one thing that's moving, because the shutter is open that whole time, it captures light at every bit of the movement, all on that, stacks it all on that one final image. You see it with waterfalls as well. The rocks, the trees, all around, because they're held on a tripod, keeping the camera perfectly still, they all stay still on that picture. But the water is the moving thing in the middle. As the water flows, it captures light at every moment of its flow because the shutter is open that whole time. Light is coming in, so it gets the milky movement flow of the water. So you can keep your shutter open for a long time. Or, with most photographs, you just open it and shut it very quickly. You get to tell it what the fraction of the second is that you want to open for. You might have it open for 1/125th of a second. That works out at 0.08 seconds, a fraction, bit of maths. Then comes down to 0.008 seconds. So, or you can have it open for 1/8 of a second. You can go to my examples now. 1/8 of a second, this first photo. So what I did was I set up my camera on my tripod so that everything that was motionless, the bricks behind, stayed still. I held a ball above the camera, and as I released the shutter, I let go of the ball. It fell through the image for the whole time that the shutter was open. So in this first picture, 1/8 of a second, 1/8, you can see the ball, the blue ball is very blurred going through the picture because the shutter was open as it was moving the whole way down. I then adjusted the shutter speed, only the shutter speed, to 1/15th of a second, 1/15, 1/15th of a second. The ball was falling through the picture, but the shutter was open for less time of that fall. You can see it as it disappears out the bottom. You can slightly more see the ball shape, not just a streak. But the image got darker. So because the shutter was open for less time, less light got in and onto the sensor and onto your final image. So as you make the shutter quicker, change that fraction quicker so that it's open for less time. 1/8 of a second, it's open for, is longer. 1/115th is quicker, so less light gets in. It's darker image. Move on to the third one, 1/30th of a second. It's open for less time still. You can start to see the shape of the ball if you look carefully, but it's got darker still. Let less light in because you had your shutter open for less time. Move forward to 1/60th of a second, darker still. You see a bit more shape of the ball though, it's freezing a bit more motion. 1/125th is the fifth image, very dark. If you look very closely, you can see the shape of the ball is getting more clear. It's freezing the action a little bit more, but it's getting very dark. The sixth image, I changed everything, adjusted everything, because I needed to get my shutter speed right up, really quick. I moved it to 1/1000th of a second. This let a lot less light in. If I hadn't changed the aperture and the ISO, it would have been a very, very dark image. It just would have been black. We wouldn't have been able to see it because there wasn't enough light getting in through the shutter. So what I did was I moved my F number right down from 32 to 9, bigger hole. Lower F number, bigger hole, it let more in. But you can see that the bricks are slightly out of focus now in the background. You can't see them as well. They are out of the depth of field. Because we lowered our F number, we reduced our depth of field, we made it narrower, therefore the background was out of the depth of field, so it made that a little bit blurry. But because we lowered the F number, we made the hole bigger, we let more light in, but it wasn't enough. So I moved my ISO as well. ISO started at 100 in those first pictures where it got very dark. There was no grain in the pictures. But I moved the ISO up to 800. Got a little bit of grain in my pictures, but it's bearable, it's not too bad. And it made the sensor more sensitive to light, so it let more light into the image, it made it brighter. So moving my ISO from 100 to 800 also made the image brighter. So the combination of the lower F number, the higher ISO number, made the image brighter. And then my higher shutter speed, 1/1000th of a second, quicker, letting less light in, that balanced everything out. We've got the aperture and the ISO making things brighter, the shutter speed making things darker, but they balance each other. There's a little bit of grain in the image because of the higher ISO, but they balance each other. I didn't quite freeze the motion. You can see that there's still a little bit of blur on that ball where it was falling through the picture, but you can see the ball, you can see the holes on it, you can see the ball itself, the feature, the subject. It's there. It's got a little bit of movement still. I didn't go for another step on the shutter speed because I didn't want to give you too many images to look at. But you can see how the higher the shutter speed gets, the quicker it moves, the less light gets in, but it's also less time where light is let in through the shutter, therefore making it quicker and freezing motion. So if you've got any questions about that at all, get onto the Facebook community group, ask away, ask your peers. I'm on there to answer your questions almost at any time of day. Let me know if you've got anything that you'd like to talk about still, any help I can give you. If you want to go and have a go with your camera changing the shutter speed, then do so. But in the next step, I'm going to tell you how to change your camera into semi-automatic mode. So then you'll really be able to get your camera out and have a play and start using it to its best, not just in that automatic mode. Thank you.